As a certified RV tech, I'm not saying that I love taking your money, but if we're being honest, most of the things that I get called for could have been avoided. If you don't know me, hi, hello, my name is Emily. I am a certified RV repair tech, and between in-person calls and helping people online, I have helped thousands of RVers save time, money, and heartache in their RV. Today, we are going to go over how you can save thousands in your home on wheels by just giving your rig 30 minutes of love each month. Here is your monthly RV love schedule. We're workshopping the title. Starting with January. January is all about new year, new me type of feelings. But I can tell you the one thing you probably don't want a new one of right at the beginning of the year is a battery. Your batteries are 1, expensive, and 2, essential to your RV. So here's just a little bit of love you can give them right at the beginning of the year so you can help guarantee that these guys will be there for you all year long. You can actually do this maintenance item with your batteries in place where they normally live. I just pulled mine out to make it easier for demonstration purposes. What you're going to do right now is check the liquid level of your battery. If you have lead acid batteries, you may not know that there is actually a bunch of liquid inside of here that is helping keep this battery cool. If that liquid level gets too low, your battery can overheat and die much faster than you would have ever wanted it to. That's also where you get that rotten egg smell from batteries. If you've ever smelled that, that is a battery where its liquid level has gotten too low and it overheated. Here is how to prevent that. To do this, all you're going to need are some safety glasses, a flathead screwdriver, and preferably some gloves. I forgot mine, so I'm just going to be super careful. This is one of those do as I say, not as I do moments. You're then going to look at the top of your battery. You're going to see that there's probably a cap or two. Just very simply pop those off with a flathead screwdriver. Woohoo! Once you pop those off, you should be able to look down into some holes into your battery. Once you can see down into those holes, you should see that there are these metal plates inside. You want to make sure that those metal plates are fully covered with water. So if we go over here, oh, we can see the plate. We can see the plate. We see water. Oop, see plate, see plate, see water. If you find that your plates are not fully covered, just go ahead and get some distilled water. This is some time to be bougie about your water. And very carefully with a funnel, just top it off until those metal plates are fully covered. Then just go ahead and reinsert your cap, and your battery should be there for you all year long. That brings us to February. I thought January might be new to a bunch of people, so February, we're keeping it real simple. Just go ahead, open up the compartments for each of your appliances and just give them a good vacuuming. I'm talking about your fridge compartment, your water heater, and for your furnace, I recommend removing these 6 or so screws, popping off this one cover, and then just snaking your vacuum hose down these 2 little tunnels. Almost all of your appliances rely on ventilation in some way in order to work. So if we can just clean out any bugs, leaves, or debris that have worked their way in there, that can really help with the longevity of your appliances. This brings us to March, where we are going to clean and sanitize our fresh water tank. This is nowhere near as difficult as people make it out to be. If you like, I have a whole video here where I walk this through step by step really simply, but the grand overview is you're just going to pour some amount of bleach or food grade hydrogen peroxide into your fresh water tank and then top it off with water. You're then going to go through and run each of your faucets. I'm talking like in your kitchen, your bathroom, your shower, your toilet, anywhere where water might go through to make sure that we distribute either that bleach or that hydrogen peroxide all the way through your RV. You're then just gonna wait overnight for your cleaning product of choice to do its job. And then the next morning, you're just going to drain the fresh water tank through your faucets and maybe run some more fresh water through it until you no longer smell bleach or hydrogen peroxide at any of your faucets. If you have any weird smells coming from your water, this should help kill all of that icky grossness real quick. With our freshwater tank cleaned, let's move on to April. As the saying goes, April showers bring May flowers. So let's jump onto our roof and make sure that our roof is ready for whatever rain may come along. If you're staying on top of your roof inspections, going over your whole roof should only take you about 30 minutes. What you want to look for is for your die core, basically this goop, to be protecting anywhere where two surfaces meet on the top of your RV. This goop is going to protect water from getting into that seam. It's okay if your die core looks dirty, like this die core, but you do want it to look nice and smooth, like this die core. Die core that looks more bubbled and textured like this is probably something that you're eventually going to want to look into pulling up and replacing. But at least in the short term, this bubbliness should be okay. What you really don't want are cracks. So anywhere where the die core is no longer one solid blob is a place where water can get in. So this guy's a pretty obvious crack, but even a crack as thin as my fingernail can let water in. So you're just going to very carefully go over your roof and look for any cracks that look like water could get into them. If your die core itself is looking pretty smooth and just has a crack here or there, you can look at just putting some more die core on top of the places that have cracks. If your die core is looking pretty beat up and bubbly like this one is, then you're probably going to want to look at pulling up that die core and putting a whole new layer of die core down. That whole process will probably take you longer than 30 minutes if you decide that you do need to replace the die core. But if you stay on top of it and look after it each year and just do it in small patches, this whole process will take you probably less than 30 minutes. Just take a tube of caulk, fill up any holes, you should be good to go. So we spent April looking at our roofs. Let's spend May looking at our air conditioners. Hello, bee. Stay over there. Ooh, two bees. Oh, gosh. Hello, two bees. Oh, I think you're wasps. Oh, okay. Maybe we'll talk about your air conditioner inside. Cleaning your air conditioner can really help it run more efficiently, help keep your RV cooler, and it can help prolong the lifespan of your air conditioner. Cannot tell you how many air conditioners I have seen that have died because they were just so covered in gunk that they couldn't breathe and the compressor started overworking. Cleaning your air conditioner, less than 30-minute process. Super quick and easy. I got a video that walks you through this in more detail here, but the super quick and easy basics is you're just going to get yourself a can of AC coil cleaner. It's a product made just for cleaning ACs. And a little pro tip here, try to get a can that has the fuzzy lid. Some of them have a fuzzy lid, some of them do not. If you get the fuzzy lid, it has a built-in tool, which is quite nice. You're then just going to take that fuzzy lid, run it along the coils to just help break up any gunk that might be in there, and then just spray the coils with coil cleaner, and that'll help pull out any excess dirt. Do that to the front coils and the back coils, and you should be good to go. This will help your AC stay running for you all summer long. That's going to take us to June, where I'm going to recommend that you take the time to flush your hot water tank. Again, no surprise, I've got a whole video walking you through how to do that as well. But the basics is you're going to throw the water heater bypass valve. So this guy is totally bypassed from the rest of the water system. You're then just going to remove either your plug or your anode rod, depending on what brand of water heater you have. Then you'll attach a funnel system, so that way you can fill this bad boy up with vinegar, usually like 3 to 5 gallons. Top it off with water, and then turn the water heater on and let it run usually for about 8 hours. After that 8 hours, you're just going to drain the tank and then use something called a tank wand to go ahead and flush out as much debris that's inside of the tank as humanly possible. If you live in a place with very hard water, like here in Las Vegas, you can actually get these tanks to be so full of hard water buildup that they completely surround the heating element and prevent the tank from heating properly. That's actually what happened to several of my customers in the last year, just because we have such hard water out here. And if you go years without doing this, you can get a ton of buildup in these tanks. I have had to replace several hot water tanks here in Las Vegas because people have not cleaned them and they have gotten so full of crud and it was so caked on that we couldn't get it cleaned out, and it was just easier to replace the whole water heater. A brand spanking new water heater, probably looking at over $600 right now, and that's before you even pay someone to install it for you. So prevent paying all of that money by just giving it a flush out once a year, okay? This is another one of those where the whole process takes more than 30 minutes, but the actual work time is less than 30 minutes usually. Think of this one as like prep time versus cook time for a recipe. You only got to prep for 30 minutes and then you just let it sit for the 8 hours, okay? So you're not actually working during those 8 hours. You got this. That brings us to July. July is going to be very easy because it's going to be very similar to January. You're just going to go through and do that battery maintenance again. I like checking on the batteries at least twice a year because they are so vital to your RV. And especially because here in Las Vegas, where we just get really hot during the summer and water tends to evaporate quicker, just giving your batteries a quick check in the middle of the summer when it is getting really hot can just prevent them from dying. Well, I cannot tell you how many batteries I've changed out for customers because they've let them get too hot. On to July. July here is going to be maybe a little bit of a controversial one, so stick with me. Most RV techs out there are going to recommend that you get the bearings packed on your RV once a year. What does this mean? Inside of your wheels is a thing called a bearing, which essentially just allows the wheel to spin freely. And inside of that bearing is a whole lot of goop. That goop helps everything slide along each other nice and easy and helps prevent things from getting too hot. In an ideal world, sure, you would be getting your bearings packed once a year. I'm just going to be realistic here and say that this is a process that involves specialty knowledge and specialty tools. So if you don't already know how to do this yourself, this is going to be one that's like more difficult than I could just explain in like a 10-minute YouTube video. And if you wanted to pay somebody to do this, it gets real expensive real quick just because this is a process that takes a long time. And because techs know that it is a specialty skill, they tend to charge extra for it. I do not do wheel bearing packing just because it's not a skill that I have in my repertoire. So I, as a tech, recommend that if you are not going to get your bearings packed once a year because it's either out of your budget or out of your time constraints, you at the very least rotate your tires once a year and listen for any grinding noises coming out of it. What this looks like is just jacking up the wheel, giving it a turn, and listening. If you hear any sort of metal on metal noise or any sort of grinding noise when you spin the wheel, then you definitely need to look into getting your bearings packed relatively quickly. But if she moves freely, sounds good, you're not getting any weird noises, then you're probably fine waiting another year. I know I'm going to get some texts in the comments being like, what do you mean they shouldn't get their bearings packed every year? I know, I understand. In an ideal world, we would all be doing this. I'm also just trying to be realistic about people's time and money constraints. So packing your wheel bearings take you way more than 30 minutes. Jacking up a wheel and rotating it, I think you can get done in 30 minutes, one time a year, just to make sure that your wheels are all there for you. Okay? We good? We on the same page? Don't come for me, techs. Don't come for me. I'm trying to be realistic. Good is better than perfect. If good is actually done and perfect is never done. Okay? Okay, on to next month. In October, we're just going to go ahead and clean your air conditioner again. I recommend that people clean their air conditioners twice a year. Once at the beginning of the hot season, so it's ready for you, and then once again after the hot season as a thank you for keeping you cool all summer long. Basically, as a Las Vegas tech, I think your air conditioner is the most important appliance in your RV. I personally can take a cool shower. I can wear extra sweaters if I lose heat, but I cannot take off my skin if it gets too hot and my air conditioner stops working. So I like to give my air conditioners a little extra love just to make sure that they're there for me. Air conditioner, also one of the most expensive appliances in your RV. So let's give that guy some extra love to make sure that he's there for you. Go give your air conditioner a clean. And then in October, we are going to inspect our roof again. Woohoo! See how easy this is? Once you gain a skill, you can just do it over and over and you don't need to learn a new skill. We love that for us. I have a similar vibe to roofs as I do to air conditioners in that a little bit of maintenance can help prevent some very major repairs if like water gets into your RV, which is why I recommend that people inspect their roofs at least twice a year. So you're looking for the exact same stuff that you were looking for earlier in the year, looking for anywhere where water could get in, and just patching it up with some Dicor. You got this. And then in November, I'm going to recommend that you look into cleaning your black tank. Ideally, you would get a professional black tank cleaning. Why do we like professionals doing this? A professional black tank cleaner is going to be able to clean out your tank at a higher water pressure than you are going to be able to achieve at any water hookup, okay? They basically bring their own water pump to increase the water pressure. I recommend that people get their black tanks cleaned at least once a year because it can help prevent major heartaches in your RV in the long run. Cleaning your tanks not only help prevent smells, they can get your sensors working again if yours have stopped working, and it helps prevent long-term buildup that can create much larger problems down the road. Basically, a little bit of poo in your tanks, not a big deal. A lot of hardened poo in your tanks, really hard to get out of, really big deal. So if you can get your tank cleaned, that can help prevent having a ton of buildup that creates a massive problem in the future. Again, ideally you would have this done by a professional, but I understand that that may be out of the budget of a lot of people, so here is the alternative that I can recommend. If you are not going to have a professional clean your tank, then get yourself a black tank cleaning wand. Don't get this one. This is just what I had lying around. I don't love this one. Instead, get this one. That's just basically a stick. This guy is a little unruly and hard to manage. These guys, much easier to use, at least in my opinion. Then all you're gonna do, open up your toilet, open up the valve, and snake this guy down into your tank, connect the other end to a hose, and then just wiggle it around. Spray as much water down there as you can. This is one of those times where you're just gonna hook up your sewer connection, keep your black tank valve open, and then just spray as much water as you can down here until it runs as clear as possible coming out of that black tank hose. Again, this will not get you as high a pressure as a professional tank cleaning would, but it'll still get you higher pressure and more directed pressure than just hooking up to the black tank cleaning valve on the side of your RV, okay? And then finally in December, we're just gonna inspect our breaker panel. I know this guy is really intimidating to a lot of people, but here's what you're gonna look for even if you have no electrical knowledge whatsoever. Just go unplug your RV from shore power and disconnect your battery, so that way we know that there is no power going in here whatsoever. If you have no electrical knowledge at all, then at this point, just give it a visual inspection and just make sure that none of these wires look loose or like they're about to fall out. Basically, if one of these wires falls out and touches another wire, you could get a short, which could lead to a fire, worst case scenario, or breaking some of your appliances, you know, sort of a middle case scenario. So if you have no electrical knowledge, you're just gonna give a visual inspection. If you have some electrical knowledge and we could double check that there's not power going to here, then here's what you're gonna do. Wow. If you have even just like a little bit of electrical knowledge on how to use a multimeter, we can then double check that there's no power going to here, and then we could put our fingers in there and do a little bit more double checking to make sure everything's safe. But I don't like putting my fingers in here unless I can double check with a multimeter, okay? Here's how to do that. Just take your multimeter, set it to AC volts. You're then going to take one probe, put it on this screw underneath the largest breaker on your breaker panel. So I have a 30 amp rig. So this 30 amp breaker is like my main breaker for the RV. If you had a 50 amp rig, you would have two 50 amp breakers, and you'd want to test both of those. But for my 30 amp rig, I'm just going to follow this down. There's going to be a screw down here. Put my red probe there. I'm then going to take my black probe, put it on where all of these copper wires go to, and I just want to see 0 volts. I'm then going to take my black probe, move it over to where all of the white wires are, and I still want to see 0 volts. And then, just for sanity's sake, we're going to take our red probe, put it where the copper wires are, and keep our black probe where the white wires are, and we still want to see 0 volts. Basically, we're just making sure that there's 0 volts everywhere. We want there to be no power here before I start going in with my meat fingers. Once you've confirmed 100% that there's no power in here, then you can just go through with a screwdriver. Sometimes it's just a flathead screwdriver. Sometimes you need an Allen wrench. It just depends on how they made your breaker panel. And just go through and make sure that all of these screws that are holding in wires are nice and tight. No need to over crank them. This isn't a time to show off how strong you are, but just make sure that they aren't loose. As you drive down the road, sometimes these wires like to wiggle themselves out, or these screws like to wiggle themselves loose. So while I'm here, I usually just like to give them a good little wiggle, make sure everything's in there. Oopsie, like this breaker probably needs to get pushed down, but like these wires are in there nice and tight. Let's see, can I get this? There we go. Boop. There we go. But now I know that my breakers are in there better, less likely to wiggle out, and I know that I'm nice and safe. And once we know everything's good, then we can go ahead and turn power back on. It's that easy. As you can see, almost all of these items that prevent you from having to make calls to techs are just quick and easy maintenance items that you can be doing throughout the year. If you would like a free guide that'll walk you through step by step how to do all of these maintenance items and more inside of your RV, head on over to rvrepairwoman.com/guide, where I've got a free guide that'll do just that. Or if you're somebody that likes this information in playlist form, check out this playlist here. But this has been RV Repair Woman. You got this.